Alex, have you and Mark got something new to wear presenting today? Sort it out, we go live in 10. We are live in 5, 4, 3, 2.
Hello and welcome to Sustain My NI. My name is Mark McCausland.
And my name is Alex Garr, and we are coming to you live from the Sonic Arts Research Centre here in Belfast. But for the next 30 minutes, we will be exploring all corners of Northern Ireland as we find out more about some of the most sustainable practices going on across the country.
From travel to trade, fashion to farming, we have a jam-packed lineup for you today. Let's find out what's coming up on the show.
Coming up, we learn more about the future of rail transport in the Northwest.
We get a taste of life on a small family farm.
We find out how mental well-being and sustainability go hand in hand at the Ravine Project.
We watch an old drinks cabinet transform into a contemporary piece.
And we explore the emerging trend of zero waste shopping. But first, lately we've been hearing all about the environmental and physical benefits of cycling.
But Alex, is the activity popular here in Northern Ireland?
Well, Mark, over the weekend I went out and about in Belfast to investigate the local cycling scene. Here in the city, we can see a network of cycle lanes that offer cyclists the opportunity to safely and quickly travel among the traffic. However, the 2021 Belfast Walking and Cycling Index by Sustrans revealed that only 17% of people here cycle at least once a week, suggesting that the mode of transport is nowhere near as popular as it has the potential to be. There's many new initiatives emerging around the city to try and change these statistics. Let's go and find out more. These include bike rental schemes, buying bikes second hand and repairing old bikes to save them going to landfill. Tim Egger, manager of the Big Loop Bicycles, explains why buying bikes second hand is a good idea.
The active travel element of the university helps people be more active, and it's creating affordable transport, zero emissions, non-polluting transport, and all the health benefits that brings to the person who buys that used bike. The more journeys people can leave their car behind if they have one, and combine that with the best public transport, it's not single occupancy journeys, so that's really the environmental impact and the health impact improvement for people. So it's really to embrace more of a dominant means of transport. What you'll discover if you do ride a bike into the city on a daily basis to go to work or to uni or to wherever you're going just to do your messages is that how much quicker it is. If you come into the city from any of the main corridors, you're stuck in traffic very fast, and that affects public transport. Even though the bus lanes are ever increasing, and you'll find that you're slipping by all the queued up traffic, and that's really impressive. And it actually makes the journey enjoyable. You know, the fact that you're out in the open air and you're drifting past all the queued up traffic. So that's it makes you enjoy your commute. You're obviously getting there quicker. And the ability to filter through queued traffic, even when there's no cycle infrastructure, is just the same as motorcyclists would. There's a right under the highway code to filter through stationary traffic, so you don't have to queue up even when you do get slightly stalled by vehicles. So it's very surprising once you start doing it. It dispels a lot of the sort of fear about, oh, I'm going to get wet, I'm going to get sweaty.
Wow, that has definitely encouraged me to get my old bike out of the garage and back in use again.
100%. I completely forgot how much I actually enjoy cycling. Maybe me and you should go cycling one day.
I think so, maybe sometime soon. And cycling isn't the only sustainable method of transport here in Northern Ireland. I recently took a trip to Derry train station to meet with Steve Bradley to learn more about the Into the West Railway campaign.
So my name is Steve Bradley. I'm chair of Into the West, which is the rail campaign for the northwest of the island. So we cover counties Derry, Tyrone, Fermanagh and Donegal. So the Northwest Rail Corridor, that's the name we're giving to reopening a railway line. We'll start in Letterkenny in Donegal, come through Derry, onto Strabane, Omagh, Dungannon, and on to Portadown, from where trains will either then go round and up to Belfast or round and down to Dublin. It's combining two different pieces of rail lines which existed up until the 1960s, and were very popular at the time and have been very sorely missed since. What we're now waiting for is to hear what's in the All-Ireland Rail Review, to see if it does indeed accept our recommendations and our suggestions on the campaign. So rail is by far the most sustainable mode of transport. It's also the most integratable. So for example, it's very easy to take a bicycle onto a train. Part of the problem with rail is the first and the last mile. So you know where a train station is, how do you get to it from where you live, and how do you get from it to where you want to go. You can easily bring a bicycle onto a train, you can't on a bus, and it's difficult in a car, and cars aren't sustainable anyway. So from that most basic level, rail is the most sustainable form of transport in terms of carbon emissions per passenger. It's also the most integratable, as I mentioned, in terms of adding in cycling. We have a problem in Northern Ireland. The second highest source of our greenhouse gas emissions is transport. It will overtake agriculture and become the highest in the coming years. So we need to decarbonise transport. We need to get people out of their cars and onto greener modes of transport like rail. We won't be able to do that if half of Northern Ireland is effectively left devoid of rail. So that's why we need to bring rail in, because it's got lower emissions per passenger, it's very integratable with other green forms of transport, and if we're serious about getting people out of their cars and onto alternative modes of transport, it has to be available there for them. Rail isn't just about getting from A to B, it's also about so many other things. It's about economic growth. You know, jobs and companies are more likely to go where transport is good in preference to places where it's bad. Secondly, it's about regional balance. Northern Ireland is very centred upon Belfast. If we want to have a Northern Ireland that works for everybody, and that everybody, no matter where they live, has opportunities to study or to work or to prosper within a close reach to them, then we need to put in the infrastructure to enable that to happen. Tourism, you have things like the Ulster American Folk Park in Omagh, where could be on a direct railway line to Dublin, where all the Americans are flying into, and then there's a big social justice angle. Roughly about a quarter of all households in Northern Ireland don't have access to a car. Now that doesn't just mean that they don't own one, they also don't have access through work, through family or through neighbours. So it's about fairness. We need to make sure that everybody has the opportunity to get transport on their doorstep, to access jobs, to access training, to get around for social life, to get to hospitals. And unless the transport is there, then we start to disadvantage a very, very large portion of people. And that's why it's so important for the future of Northern Ireland, because we need a place that works for everybody economically. We need a place that is balanced regionally, and we need a place that is greener in terms of the ways people can get around, and we need a place that's fairer, so that everybody has an opportunity to prosper, to get access to jobs and to training, no matter where they live and no matter whether they own a car or not.
Wow, That was just so interesting learning more for the Into the West campaign.
Yeah, absolutely. I was there and it was so interesting to learn so much about the campaign.
Yeah, that's the first time that I've actually ever heard of the campaign, so I'm definitely going to look more into it.
Yeah, it was fascinating. We're joined here in the studio by Christopher Allen from TransLink NI to tell us more about Northern Ireland's transport system.
Hi Christopher, thank you so much for being in here with us today. How was your journey here?
Uneventful and quick.
What mode of transport did you use?
I actually came on the bus. I don't actually want a car anymore.
Really?
All right.
I live in Belfast, so I can use the metro services really easily. So it's a quick trip into Belfast on the bus this morning. Our office is in Great Victoria Street, just opposite Great Victoria Street Station. And it's just the 8B up here is a few minutes.
That's
very handy
good.
and quick.
That's
Yeah.
very handy. I love the double deckers on the metro, they're very fun.
My son is obsessed with sitting right in the front seat on the top deck.
My
watching
favourite
them come.
spot.
The best views. So, at the moment, how is TransLink providing sustainable transport for people in Northern Ireland?
So sustainable transport is sustainability's kind of a three-legged stool. First of all, it has to actually be economically sustainable. So we have to make sure that TransLink as a company is economically viable. Without that, there wouldn't be a public transport service. Second, environmentally, we need to make sure that the vehicles themselves are as environmentally friendly as possible, and we've introduced over 100 battery electric vehicles and hydrogen vehicles into the fleet, primarily serving Belfast at the moment, but later this year there'll be nearly 40 vehicles go into the Foyle metro station, so Foyle will become one of the first cities in the UK that has an entirely emissions-free vehicle fleet. The important thing with that is that those vehicles, there's no tailpipe emissions, they all run on electric or hydrogen, and the electric for those buses, TransLink buys 100% renewable, so there are no emissions for the running of those vehicles. And then the third one, and to make them sustainable, is the community part of that. And what we try and do is TransLink's a public transport company that's paid for partially by the public purse. So we try and make our services serve the communities as well as we possibly can, so that what we do feeds into and supports those communities.
So over the years, we have seen TransLink set targets for net zero emissions. What would the benefits of this be for sustainable travel?
We have not just a target for net zero, but we actually have a target by 2050 we will be removing carbon from the atmosphere, so climate positive. We've set ourselves 3 major milestones to have halved emissions from the operations that we have, so half the emissions from the diesel and the heating oil from the buildings and things by 2030, net zero emissions by 2040, and then climate positive by 2050.
Well, thank you, Christopher, for being here. That was really interesting.
Yeah, very interesting. Thank you very much.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
It's clear that Northern Ireland is moving in the right direction towards changes that will benefit the environment.
Our field reporter Eliza recently visited Trevor Montgomery to find out how his family farm has made changes towards more sustainable practices.
I'm here at a local cattle farm in Soldierstown to meet with Trevor Montgomery to see what sustainable practices he's put in place here in his farm.
The history of this farm, my grandfather bought this farm in 1924 and he farmed it till 1952, and then my father John Montgomery took over and he farmed it to 1989, and then I took over in 89 and I've been farming ever since. Now I have a son on the farm, Jonathan Montgomery, so he'll be taking over from me. So next year the Montgomery family will be in this farm 100 years. We've carried the farm all that way and we've made the farm bigger. It's a lot bigger from when my grandfather had taken it on. We have 2 Moy Park broiler houses. We're milking 80 cows here. We have arable, cereals, and we used to grow potatoes. Well, in this farm here on the broiler houses we're using solar panels. Also in the broiler houses we're using pallet burners, cut the CO2s. And as for putting out slurry onto the land, we're using double bars instead of splice plates to cut down on the emissions on the farm. But for recycling, all the plastic goes for recycling, so doing our bit for the environment as much
Yeah.
as we can. We don't cut the hedges here till September, and we stop cutting the hedges in March so the birds can nest. The ones nested in the hedges. You have to think about keeping the rivers clean, no leakage out of tanks. Don't be diving near a drain with your slurry tanker. If the people in the area is buying the food local, they're not flying it in from halfway around the world,
Exactly, yeah.
which is pumping out more CO2s. With the being produced here, it hasn't as far to go to get processed, you know, for the go back to
Yeah.
the shops. So it would be a good thing. I was reared on this farm, so I suppose when I was growing up, I got more interested in farming.
Yeah.
Now, whenever I started to go to work, I didn't start farming right away.
Yeah.
I went and served my time to making kitchens, but
Oh,
farming
really?
was in the blood. So then I quit that and I come home and I started to farm, so I've been farming ever since. You're doing something different every day. The only thing about it is it makes time go quick. Well, we used to grow potatoes here and we sold them all off the farm,
Yeah.
but then it was a sort of a family enterprise where you need a lot of help with growing potatoes, and we would have sold them all out of the yard here, but we're not doing that now. We can't, there's nothing that we're growing here that we can sell straight to the general public, but the cow's milk goes to Marlin to be processed, to go to the shops. Our beef cattle goes to ABP in Lurgan, so then they go around the different butchers. We have 56,000 broiler chickens and they go to my park.
Oh, really?
So my park's a big company.
Yeah.
So they do the processing and the chickens is exported to Vietnam, UK
Yeah.
and into Northern Ireland and down south.
Right.
No, we're a small family farm here and it's still working, you know, and as I say, my son's working on the farm and I have two sons. And if I need help, the other one, he comes in and gives us a hand as well. Well, my older son, he loves the farming, but my younger one, he doesn't have much interest in
Really?
it.
Yeah.
No. Has to be in the blood.
Yeah. Although family farms like these aren't often heard about or well known, they are so important to the agriculture industry and really make all the difference when it comes to ensuring a more sustainable Northern Ireland.
Wow, isn't it interesting seeing the behind the scenes of the farm? Now, I don't know about you, Mark, but I don't think farming's for me. But at least the cows are kind of cute.
That's true, although I don't think farming is definitely not for me either. However, I did personally enjoy learning about the history of the family farm. And speaking of family businesses, produce farms can be a really great way in bringing the community back together.
Our reporter Eliza recently visited the Ravine project in Knockbracken, which puts an emphasis on improving the mental well-being of their volunteers.
Let's go and see how she got on.
This is the Ravine Project. It's home to an array of wildlife, acts as a place for people to have a family day out and walk their dog, and grows produce for the people of Knockbracken. Come with me and see what it has to offer. It isn't just the environment that benefits from Ravine. Another important goal of Ravines is to help specific members of the community. Young people who struggle with their mental health are employed here as trainees. They're given work experience and spend time with nature.
This weather, it's a lot of site maintenance, like redoing the paths, fixing up our pole frames over there, or putting on plants. We've been doing that.
Yeah, we've been doing wood chipping as well.
Yeah.
And we have a pond actually. We go down there sometimes to fix the pond, keep it tidy.
Yeah.
And usually it would overflow sometimes, and then we try to. Like,
Well, we have to clear out
Clear
the
out.
channel a lot, but
When speaking to the young people who benefit from Ravine, they told me about the work they do to fix and maintain parts of the area here, like mending the pond and laying down paths. Outside work seemed to be a big part of their day-to-day life at Ravine, and it was said that working here provided them with a lot of relaxation. Walking through, it was definitely clear what they meant. The project also has this popular bird feeding area, which simultaneously relaxes the trainees and gives the birds a safe place to eat. And it isn't just land animals that they have here at Ravine. Ponds like these are full of algae which help support the local wildlife, and if you're really lucky, you might even be able to see a heron. After taking a walk around the Ravine project, we can see that it really is a great place to improve your mental health as well as the environment, and it's places like these that are slowly making Northern Ireland a more sustainable place.
And now Eliza is here in the studio to talk more about the Ravine project. Hello,
Hi Eliza. Hi guys. Hi. So was that your first time visiting the Ravine?
It was, yeah, actually, and I didn't know about it before, so I was really pleasantly surprised by everything they had to offer.
And how did the experience go for you?
It was really lovely. Everyone seemed to really enjoy being there, even just the people who were walking their dogs and everything.
It looks like a great place to walk around, doesn't it?
Oh, it is. Yeah, that is so cool. And can you tell us more about what the purpose is of the Ravine project?
Yeah, so it's really for the community to just be able to walk around, but there's also the mental health aspect of it, where they actually have trainees who struggle with their mental health, and they can learn agricultural skills to then take into their jobs. There's also the nature side of things, where they grow produce and they have a wildflower garden and things like that. Yeah.
So there's plenty of benefits.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So if people at home want to get involved, how would they go around doing that?
They actually have markets, and they do these veg box schemes where they grow things on the site and they put them in these veg boxes that they can deliver to, or you can be a member and come and get them. It's just a great alternative to you know, the big supermarkets. Yeah.
Wow, that is so cool. I would really love to go sometime.
Yeah.
Can you tell us whereabouts it's located?
It's actually in Knockbracken, which is only 10 minutes outside of Belfast city centre, so it's very accessible. Yeah, if you
very
want to
handy.
go.
That's very handy, yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you very
definitely.
much, Eliza, for
Thank
coming
you.
on
Thank
to talk
you
to
too.
us. Now, the vegetable boxes are such a great idea on how to buy your produce in a sustainable way.
Talking about buying more sustainably, I want to share with you my recent experience of exploring the zero waste food shopping scene here in Belfast.
I would say one of the largest benefits of shopping here is to reduce your own household waste. But for a bigger impact, obviously that then has impact on the amount of plastic that goes to landfill, the amount of plastic that ends up in the oceans. But really what we see in our own customers is a reduction not only in the plastic they consume, but also kind of economically, that shopping eco products that last longer often is cheaper. So at Refill Quarter, we specialise in household products, about things that you would have in your cupboard, dried goods, nuts, that sort of thing. But we also have shampoo. And additionally, we also try and have lots of different eco products for the household, as well as like sanitary products, soaps, that sort of thing. Anything that we can really feasibly get that isn't perishable, we kind of sell. There's quite a large amount of students who are interested in this, and that's why we see like the SU opening their shop, because you know there is an interest in sustainability within young people, which is something that really needs to be fostered. There's lots of personal advantages to shopping sustainably. For example, when you shop a more sustainable eco product, it can often last longer, so you don't have this additional cost of rebuying. There's also obviously the benefit of reducing your own waste, but really the larger concept is that you are helping the environment. You're reducing your own impact on the environment, and you know, we see the climate crisis happening all around us. You know, we see it even in the last few years. We see our weather here in Northern Ireland getting better and better, which obviously, you know, we like, but that has such a wider impact on the planet, and it's something that we really need to kind of step up independently and address. As you know, we've left the EU, there is lots of problems with people wanting to ship to Northern Ireland. You know, we now have the cost of living crisis. There is definitely a strain on you know, stocking the shop, keeping the stock shopped, but also the ability of like how do we increase prices that don't reflect too much on our customers. So I think we have been successful in our aims, but obviously like there is a sign of the times of it. I think it's getting harder and harder to be eco-friendly.
That was Esme White from the Refill Quarter. It's no wonder that this contemporary method of shopping is starting to emerge here in Northern Ireland.
Absolutely, Mark. If people started playing their part in minimising the waste that they produce, it'd just make a huge difference.
Yeah, in fact, in place of even shopping for new things, many people have been undertaking their own DIY projects in upcycling and repurposing things that they may have lying around.
Yes, I recently visited the Dusty Cottage just to see how this creative process goes down. Upcycling furniture is not only good for the environment, but most of the time it is cheaper than buying first hand. In a special way, you can make your own piece of furniture that are unique to you and your style. We paid Catherine Garvin a visit in her at-home workshop to learn all about the steps in which she takes in order to upcycle a piece of abandoned furniture.
It was a hobby to begin with. Basically, I worked in the financial industry for about 15 years and I started to get bored, so I painted a kitchen table from home and I enjoyed it. It was relaxing, the table turned out really nice, and then I started watching YouTube videos and just following furniture upcyclers online and just got a feel for it, and I started doing it part-time, a couple of days, and then eventually full-time. So a lot of my furniture would be purchased from charity shops, and if the items aren't sold, they're just sent to landfill. Also, I'd pick up pieces on house clearances and those will go to landfill as well. So I think it's important just to reuse. The antique pieces are generally solid wood and there might be a few bits that you need to fill or repair, but they're really good pieces. So yeah, it's about kind of reusing, and you know, it's a lot better for the environment, I suppose, as well. I will mainly locate antique furniture and upcycle, so that will involve sanding, painting, cleaning, adding funky designs.
Prepping is a very crucial step when it comes to upcycling a piece of furniture, as it forms a strong foundation for the rest of the design. Catherine shows us the intricate steps she takes in order to ensure that the second-hand cabinet that she is upcycling can be rehomed in its best condition possible.
This is customer's own piece. I believe it was rescued from a charity shop. It's mid-century. It seems to be in pretty good nick. So what we will do firstly is I am going to go in with a good degreaser, so that will remove any grease or dirt from the surface to allow the paint to stick to the surface. Next step, we will tape up the glass, just right in here, go as close to the edge as possible, so that ensures when you're painting you're going to get a straight line. After that, I will go over the surface to check if there's any lumps and bumps that need filled. So on this piece, very little needs repaired, but we will go over with the wood filler, allow the wood filler to dry, and once dry we will use a sanding block and we'll sand it down smooth. Last step for preparation is with a hammer or a screwdriver we will remove the backboard. So on this project, because it's a customer's own, she has selected a dark green, and once the backboard is removed, this nice design will be added.
We paid Catherine another visit to see what progress she had made on her upcycled drinks cabinet.
So we are on our first coat. So it's very light strokes. It'll probably take 3 coats. We are using the colour Salt of the Earth by Frenchic. It's a very neutral colour. Here, I'm not going to worry about getting paint on the backboard because we will be wallpapering that with a nice funky paper, hopefully. So just nice straight brush strokes. So I'm painting absolutely everything if I leave parts of the wood as they are, it can look a bit mismatched, and it's just a lot better finish. We do go upside down. You're not going to see these areas, but I find that when the customers come to pick up and put the items in the back of their car, when it's flipped on their back, you can kind of see the underneath pieces and it just looks a wee bit messy. It's just a better finish. Okay, so I'm just going to go round and over.
And here is the beautiful final product.
Fantastic. I'm picturing that cabinet in my living room.
Didn't she do such an amazing job? I think she might have influenced me to do a wee DIY project myself.
Oh, that's very good, Alex. She sure did, but how would you fancy taking on the job of restoring this magnificent piece? This is the royal throne that is 700 years old and will be used for the coronation of His Majesty King Charles III this weekend on Saturday the 6th of May.
I bet this restoration project took a little bit longer than Catherine's drinks cabinet.
Oh, I'm sure it did. I wish you and I had thrones like this to put on our set.
Me too. Unfortunately, we couldn't get our hands on any royal thrones, but we were kindly donated some of the lovely decor you can see around our set from the Oxfam charity shop.
Lauren from Oxfam on Botanic Avenue wants to share with you this message about the importance on donating and buying clothes from charity shops.
I would encourage donating to charity shops because it brings more clothes in, and we're able to pass them on to all different kinds of people. And if things don't sell here, this man's going to walk through this. No, he's not. And if they don't sell here, then they'll get passed on to somewhere else, and somewhere along the line somebody's bound to buy them rather than them going to landfill. And it stops people from buying all the fast fashion and like feeling that then where they end up with so many clothes that they don't know what to do with, and then they end up just chucking stuff out.
That was lovely. I will definitely be leaving some of my old clothes at the charity shop very soon.
100%, me too. I've got plenty of clothes at home that I never wear.
Well, unfortunately, Alex, that is all we have time for today.
It really has been fascinating delving into some of the most sustainable practices going on across the country, paving the way for an even brighter and greener Northern Ireland.
Hopefully that you've learned something new from our show, or perhaps been inspired to consider a new mode of transport or a new way to shop.
Yes, we hope you've enjoyed this just as much as we have. We would like to give a great big thank you to all of our guests for taking part.
I'm Mark McCausland.
And I'm Alex Garrett. And this has been Sustain My NI.